Absolutely. And I even want to just take a step back for a moment. I've been in the disaster space for a little bit less than 5 years now, and I've noticed that we tend to complicate things when really this is just quite a straightforward issue. I'm sure that's the same for many fields, but what we're looking at here is potential impacts on people and property, right? Basic level, those are our threats. And so when it comes to the people, employees are the most important asset of a company. So if we're looking at an employee base where a large majority of those folks have been displaced, maybe they're dealing with long-term stays away from home, well, they're not there. And so when we're looking at for a company and we're trying to get back on our feet post-event, well, if our employee base is displaced and they're not able to work, that's really problematic for an organization. So that's the first thing. Huge threat to people, definitely something that we need to be planning for in advance. And the second thing is property. And so if we're thinking about whatever the disaster event is, high wind event, flooding, hurricane, when you name it, whatever that is, it can impact not only the structure, but it could also impact the equipment inside of that building. And so a very expensive issue to fix. And those fixes from storm-related damage, it's not going to happen overnight. And so again, when an organization is trying to recover post-event, if the physical structure has been impacted by a storm, that's highly problematic. So those are two main buckets of things that we need to be thinking about. But then we also have a large suite of other things. So communication barriers internally to employees, but then externally to stakeholders and to suppliers, vendors. We also could could see different supply chain disruptions, even payroll disruptions. So, those are just a couple examples, but there are a lot of things that could be negatively impacted from disasters. And so we really want facility managers to be thinking about these types of things. And then lastly, I will just share the statistic that really is so profound, and it kind of helps also tee up this conversation and why we're talking about this. We're looking at as much as 40% of companies do not reopen after closing from disaster. And 40% is really pretty significant. So there are things that we can be doing planning wise in advance to help reduce that number. And I'm glad we'll get to talk about it today.